Chapter 896. Two-player teams. The guild leaders were taking an indirect approach to figure out each other's intentions. In fact, Excellent Dynasty, which was Happy's most direct competitor, was very quiet at the moment. Apart from a few ha-has in the beginning, Chen Yahui mainly watched from the sidelines. Chen Yahui had more confidence than the others because Excellent Era didn't face any trouble in the Challenger League, so for this generous event, the club had encouraged the players to participate. Chen Yahui saw that these guilds wanted to ally together to cause trouble for Yi Chu and laughed inwardly. While the others fought against Yi Chu, his own guild would stay on the sidelines and peacefully clear their quests. How could their achievements not turn out well? Unfortunately, Chen Yahui underestimated the intelligence of the other guild leaders. If he thought of it, the others had thought of it as well, which was why everyone approached the issue very cautiously. All of them spoke casually about an alliance. Evidently, everyone wanted to take advantage of the others allying together, so their own guild could scoop up all the fish from the fishermen for themselves. If everyone wanted to take advantage, then it wasn't going to happen. Each and every one of them circled around each other slyly. After a long time, nothing came of it until everyone realized that everyone else wanted to do the same thing too. If this continued, it would never end. As a result, more and more people chose to stay silent. In the end, the matter was left inconclusive, which disappointed the bystander, Chen Yahui. However, he had the chess pieces in his hands, so he wasn't worried. The task for organizing the guild for this Christmas event had been handed over to his subordinates. On the other hand, he was busy preparing characters for the pro players. For this kind of interactive event, using pro characters would be too high profile. Who knew what might happen in a 50-player battlefield? Their own fans would be good. They might just send over whatever stockings they got to them, but what if there were enemy fans? Chen Yahui prepared these accounts meticulously and explained to them what he had learned about the event after a night of thorough research. As for Happy? After everyone woke up, they started figuring out the event. They were ambitious and wouldn't waste their limited quests to probe it out. They obviously went to players who had already completed the quests to understand the situation. After getting a grasp on the situation, Team Happy logged on. The higher echelons of the guild passed on fearful messages such as "the wolves are here." Some people subconsciously checked the rankings immediately as if once Happy came, these rankings would be completely swept by them. In the current rankings, Guild Samsara was in the lead. The individual and team rankings were less obvious because each person and each team had 3 chances. Obtaining all of the stockings each round totaled to 60 stockings, so the gap between the rankings was still relatively small, leading to many individuals and teams with identical totals. In the individual rankings, the most anyone had managed to collect was only 16 stockings. A huge number of players had this achievement. The team rankings were more formidable. Most of the high rankings were held by club guild teams. The highest total was 30 stockings. The above were for the level 75 rankings. The top guilds were more concerned about this ranking because from common sense, the rewards and the levels corresponded to each other. Level 75 equipment and materials were what the top guilds desired the most. Happy's people had logged on. Were heaven-defying records about to appear soon? And at this moment, they were all in a predicament. Should they throw in their troops now and collide with Team Happy, or should they avoid them to let Team Happy reign freely, while they switch to a different time to try? Due to no alliance forming to fight with Happy, the big guilds lacked confidence. After pondering over the issue, they grit their teeth and sent out their troops. They at least couldn't allow Happy to overthrow them so easily. As for Happy, after 2 days of discussion, they finally came up with a plan. 10 players. First, Wei Chen would lead Chao Yifan, Chen Guo, Luo Ji, and An Wenyi to form a 5-player party. Chen Guo and Luo Ji weren't at a pro level. In terms of their individual skill, they were no different than normal players. An Wenyi's little cold hands was a healer, so he would undoubtedly need to be part of a team. As a result, the 3 might as well be put together. With Wei Chen leading and accompanied by the cautious Chao Yifan, this team was quite formidable. As for the other 5, Tang Ru and Wu Chen were designated as individuals. For Mo Fan, no one ever made any arrangements for him in the first place. He hadn't considered himself as a member of the team, so he wasn't going with comply with Yishu's orders. Finally, Yishu and Steamed Bun formed a 2-player team. Teams didn't necessarily need to consist of 5 players. 2, 3, 4 players were fine. However, the system didn't give any advantage to teams with fewer players, so forming a team with less than 5 players was clearly considered disadvantageous, but thinking about student Steamed Bun's weirdness and carelessness, who knew what contribution he would make if he played alone? As a result, Yi Shu might as well just run around with him. Those in a party formed their party and those participating individually finished their preparations. They accepted the quest and teleported to the event map. Snow was always associated with Christmas, so naturally, this year's Christmas map was a snow map. As soon as they were teleported in, everyone's screen was filled with a brilliant white cover of snow. Sunlight shone on the snow. The reflected light made the scene especially dazzling. Snow continued to fall at varying speeds. Yi Shu and Steamed Bun happened to be caught in a snowstorm. Goose feather-sized snowflakes filled the sky. For a moment, it was hard to tell which direction was what. Ah, the wind's so strong. It's even affecting our movement speed. After Yi Shu had Lord Grimm take a few steps, he immediately felt something. It was another part of what added complexity to the game. It wasn't only the terrain that affected fights. Sometimes, the weather had an influence as well. What did you say? Steamed Bun shouted loudly. To Yi Shu, it sounded just fine in the game, but everyone else could hear Steamed Bun's ear-piercing shout through the game's background sounds. What are you yelling so loudly for? Yi Shu asked. The wind's too loud. It's hard to hear you, Steamed Bun said. You're too engrossed in the game. Yi Shu was speechless. In this snowstorm, strong winds constantly screeched. Steamed Bun spoke as if he were actually inside the snowstorm and started yelling. Let's start looking for stockings, Yi Shu said. Which way? Steamed Bun asked. It doesn't matter. Stockings were scattered around the map randomly. No coordinates were given, so in the beginning, they could only search around randomly. The stockings weren't thrown out all at once. In the beginning, there would only be 10 stockings. The rest of the 10 stockings would be placed randomly within 30 minutes depending on the time and position of the players on the map. The system gave notifications when these stockings spawned, so players wouldn't be completely caught unaware. At the moment, the 10 stockings had a display for them. After someone found a stocking, the number would update, letting players know the current status of the stockings. After all 20 stockings were picked up, the system would begin a 120-second countdown. Within those 120 seconds, if no change occurred, the quest come to an end. In the event map, you wouldn't lose experience or equipment after dying, but stockings were guaranteed to drop. After 20 seconds, the character could revive at full health. However, as your death count increased, the time to revive increased at 20-second increments. In order to spice up the event, apart from stockings, items would randomly spawn to assist the players. There were no cooldown potions, invisible cloaks, fast-moving sleds, small boxes for carrying stockings, and so on. These items wouldn't be given a notice from the system. The maps wasn't too big. If not, finding the stockings and items would prove to be too difficult. At Yi Shu's and Steamed Bun's map, all 10 stockings were still there. No one had picked up any yet. The two quickly encountered a few players, but without any stockings found, there naturally wouldn't be a battle. Once a stocking was picked up, an announcement would be made indicating who had picked it up. There was also a clear list of who had how many stockings that updated immediately. Yi Shu and Steamed Bun still hadn't found anything yet. Finally, the first system announcement was made, player Wooden Crate is in the lead and has obtained a Christmas stocking. Wooden Crate. Let's find him, Steamed Bun yelled. In his eyes, finding a person was easier than finding a stocking, especially in this map, where there was such a huge snowstorm. The character practically needed to squat down in order to even see the ground clearly. Who knew where this stocking had been found? A part of it might have been sticking out in the snow. If that were the case, it was too easy to be ignored. We'll split up and search. Yi Shu made this decision in the end. If you see the target, tell me. Don't act rashly, Yi Shu said. Understood, Steamed Bun replied. The two split up. Not long afterwards, Yi Shu didn't hear it through the game, but from outside of the game, the person in front, are you Wooden Crate? You're Wooden Crate, right? Yeah, I've been hunting for you. Hand over that stocking you just picked up. Position, Yi Shu wanted to cry. He sent a message to Steamed Bun. This guy actually said hi to Wooden Crate. He gave away his position to the target and greeted him. Only Steamed Bun would understand this type of logic. Steamed Bun replied back with a coordinate. Yi Shu looked at it. It wasn't far. He immediately switched directions and rushed over. Oh, you're not alone. At this moment, Yi Shu heard Steamed Bun say. Of course he's not alone. The two of them had partied up in this event. The majority of players came into the event in parties of 5. He was just on his own because they had separated to search for the stockings. How could he be the only one here? Careful, Yi Shu reminded. Actually, with Steamed Bun's current skill, he should be able to deal with 5 normal players, but Steamed Bun couldn't be surmised through common sense. Sometimes, he did things that not even a pro player would understand, but there were also times where he lost battles which he shouldn't have lost. At this moment, Yi Shu heard Steamed Bun express his surprise. Chapter 897. Can't hear, the wind's too strong. Based on a pro player's hand speed, it was no trouble to type faster than one could speak talk. However, Yi Shu couldn't be bothered to type. It wasn't because he was slow, but because he was worried that Steamed Bun wouldn't see his messages. As a result, he also asked as he raised his voice, "What are you so surprised at?" "They're gone," Steamed Bun immediately replied with an equally loud voice. "It's invisible cloak, isn't it? Be careful," Yi Shu shouted. Understood, Steamed Bun's voice was loud and clear. "Do you guys need to talk like that?" Chen Guo slammed the table. "The wind is too strong, we can't hear if we're not loud enough. Don't yell," Steamed Bun explained hurriedly. Yi Shu was speechless. That wasn't the reason why they needed to speak loudly. It was because they weren't in the same region, so they needed to deliver the sound from outside of the game. It was obvious that they needed to speak louder with their headphones on. "What do you mean the wind is too strong so you can't hear?" Yi Shu realized that he was too careless. He should have sat next to Steamed Bun from the start. That way he could understand and communicate with him more conveniently. "Punk, invisible cloak? I see you already. Come out quickly," Steamed Bun spoke as he started to pressure and lure his opponents. "Ah, it's an ambush. B***stards, let me fix you up. Ah, there's another. Yeah, another one. What in the world, there's still." Steamed Bun shouted non-stop. Even Chen Guo, who was in a completely different map, became nervous. "What's the matter? What's the matter?" Chen Guo moved her head and tried to see the situation from Yi Shu's screen. Yi Shu's Lord Grimm was busy hurrying over. He hadn't yet reached the location, so how could he see Steamed Bun? He lifted his head and pushed Chen Guo's head away. "Focus on your side." "What's the situation like?" Yi Shu asked Steamed Bun. 5 thieves, Steamed Bun said. At first, Steamed Bun only saw the player called Wooden Crate, but soon, Wooden Crate's companions came to aid him. They were a 5-player team made up of friends, so they originally split up to complete different jobs. However, when Wooden Crate picked up the pair of stockings, the other 4 immediately hurried there to aid him. As a result, they ran into Steamed Bun, whom came to snatch away the stocking, so they immediately started fighting without uttering another word. In reality, those players simply reached the destination one after the other. It wasn't an ambush like what Steamed Bun had described it as. "Hey, there's a good man who's willing to give a hand," Steamed Bun called again at that moment. Yi Shu gave it a thought. It wasn't a good man, they probably came to snatch Wooden Crate stockings as well. "Bro, we're on the same side." Yi Shu heard Steamed Bun greet the good man warmly. Even Yi Shu felt bad for Steamed Bun, but he would never have expected that Steamed Bun's greeting caused the opponent to become at a loss in return. This was because the group was a team from Tyrannical Ambition. Players from big guilds took up a large proportion of the current level 75 players. Because everyone was randomly assigned to a map, it was possible to encounter players from the same guild. The guilds had previously given instructions to their members that if they ran into players from the same guild, they should work together and aim for a better score as a whole. So when Steamed Bun popped up with, "Bro, we're on the same side," the opponent was extremely confused. They subconsciously replied with an, "Oh," and then viewed Steamed Bun as part of Tyrannical Ambition. They immediately brought people forward and shielded Steamed Bun. They even rushed straight to the front before immediately realizing something. They turned around and checked his name, Steamed Bun Invasion. What same side? That was a wolf from Happy. As someone who followed Yi Shu's Lord Grimm starting from the 10th server, Steamed Bun was viewed as a super permanent member by the big guilds early on. He's from Happy. Attack. The team captain reacted at once. Without speaking a second word, he stopped going after Wooden Crate. He turned around and stabbed Steamed Bun Invasion with his sword. "You even fight your own people. So shameless," Steamed Bun yelled. Such an unwavering voice put the few from tyrannical ambition to be at loss. This was because it was possible for a character from the heavenly domain to share the same name. In order to tell apart two characters with the same name, apart from looking at things like their class or equipment, the most reliable way was to check the character's ID number. Every character had a unique number, like their personal ID. The character's ID would never be the same. They had never heard of such a strange name like Steamed Bun Invasion before, let alone someone from their own guild. However, Steamed Bun's confident voice managed to cause the few players from tyrannical ambition to freeze for a few seconds. After that, they soon came back to their senses. "Nonsense. We don't have any Steamed Bun Invasions in our guild. Attack." Boom. They were the ones who called for an attack, but it was them who were attacked first. When they were about to leap towards Steamed Bun Invasion, a cannonball was fired at them. Steamed Bun Invasion didn't have a scratch on him, and the players of tyrannical ambition were sent flying back by the explosion's blast. Yishu's Lord Grimm had finally arrived. Lord Grimm. The players of tyrannical ambition cried with despair. The name Lord Grimm wasn't rare, but Yishu's Lord Grimm was too easy to recognize. They didn't even need to check the character's information to see if he was unspecialized. Judging by the character's brightly colored appearance, there couldn't be another one in the heavenly domain. Retreat. The team captain showed his resolution. Seeing that a Lord Grimm had arrived, he took the lead and ran without wanting wooden crate stockings. "You want to run after seeing my boss? What a shameless guy." Steamed Bun's brick flew ahead, and the team captain successfully dodged it as he ran, without understanding how Steamed Bun's words worked. Everyone was an enemy, so it wasn't rare to have someone spurting foul language, but there was no reason to call him a shameless guy. He didn't even have the chance to be shameless. "Steamed Bun, don't chase them," Yishu called for Steamed Bun to stop. Wooden Crate's 5-player team didn't want to fight at all, so when Yishu turned his view around, they had already taken this gap as opportunity and escaped quite far away. "Quickly chase here," Yishu called for Steamed Bun. "Hurry." It was unknown whom Steamed Bun was calling for. "Did you see them trade?" Yishu asked. Steamed Bun asked with a single word. Yishu firmly shut up. Steamed Bun wouldn't have noticed such a detail. They were in a team battle, so the ranking was listed with teams as units. The system announced who picked up the stocking, but if it was traded within the team, the system wouldn't be announced to the public. The ranking list would only show that their team had a pair of stockings, so it was hard to tell whether the stockings were on Wooden Crate, who had first picked it up. This friend team didn't have any important figures, but they had a brain. When Yishu looked, the other side had split up. He immediately realized that the stocking might have been traded to someone else. The stockings might not be on Wooden Crate anymore. "You follow Wooden Crate closely, I'll pursue the others," Yishu quickly organized. He thought that the opponent could have purposely placed the decoys, so the stocking might still be on Wooden Crate all along. Wooden Crate's luck was pretty good. He was the first to pick up the stocking in this map, and had picked up the item Invisible Cloak before that. After picking up the stockings, appearing in the announcement, and encountering Steamed Bun, Wooden Crate decisively used the Invisible Cloak. Soon afterwards, his friends arrived. In addition, the players who came were no longer just Steamed Bun alone. Normal players weren't tyrannical enough to press forward fearlessly and slay anything that blocked their path. All they thought about was how to keep their pair of stockings, so when they were given the chance, they immediately fled. The 5 players scattered in 5 different directions. After all, they wouldn't lose any experience or equipment when they died, so naturally, everyone was willing to sacrifice themselves. Which character had the stocking? Even someone rich with experience like Yishu couldn't guess the answer to this problem. As a result, he let Steamed Bun continue to watch Wooden Crate closely, while he made the easiest decision: pursue the one closest to him. The closest one was a berserker. Yishu's Lord Grimm attacked while moving forward, which didn't affect his accuracy in the slightest. The berserker player's skills was a lot rougher, so when he heard the cannon behind him, the character jumped without looking back. This was a thoughtless and subconscious action made by normal players because they felt the need to do something. Due to this jump, along with the air blast created by the explosion, the berserker player shocked himself. "Ho! I can fly this high." After that, he originally wanted to quick recover when he landed, but he didn't succeed. He was only able to complete a half roll. He landed in a crooked way, burying his head beneath a pile of snow. Yishu's Lord Grimm arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye. "Don't chase me. The stockings aren't with me." The player saw that he couldn't fight with strength, so he immediately used words. "Oh, then who is it with?" Yishu asked. "I don't know. He didn't trade with me." This person spoke, and a sword light suddenly shot up from under the snow. This sneak attack was rather sudden and abrupt. However, Lord Grimm's myriad manifestations umbrella was even quicker. When it was swung, it changed into its spear form, and the dragon fang managed to stun the berserker. This player only managed to clearly see, with astonishment, the name of the person before him at this moment. Lord Grimm was the last to arrive. During that time, his team was already escaping, so no one paid too much attention. "Lord Grimm." This person blurted out. Lord Grimm was more well known than Steam Bun Invasion. "It's me," Yishu replied without stopping. He needed to seize the moment and deal with the opponent to check if he had the stocking. "I've watched your matches. You're amazing," the opponent called out. "Is that so? Which match did you see?" Yishu asked casually. "The match with Everlasting." "Really? Why didn't I see you?" Yishu asked. This person was speechless for a moment. This was because one could watch the Challenger League by squeezing into the arena's room. The names of the audience would be listed, so if someone came to watch, their name could be seen. This person couldn't come up with an answer in time, so he obviously hadn't watched it, which was why he was so lacking in confidence. Yishu laughed, but he didn't mind. Whether he watched it or not wouldn't stop him from continuing to kill him. Stockings. The most important thing was stockings. The berserker obviously couldn't rival Yishu, so he was dealt with in less than a minute. Yishu took a look. His luck wasn't good. He didn't drop any stockings. No wonder this person was so talkative. He might have been wanting to divert Yishu's focus to drag the time. Yishu spun Lord Grimm's view around to look. The other players couldn't be found. Their viewing distance was quite bad in this windy and snowy map. "Steam Bun, have you caught up to him?" Yishu could only continue the "I can't hear because the wind's too strong, so I must speak louder" conversation. "I've caught up. I'm fixing him up right now," Steam Bun replied. Position. Yishu didn't have any target on his side, so he decided to support Steam Bun. Chapter 898. Stocking Robbery. Steamed Bun was more than skilled enough to handle normal players. When Yishu's Lord Grimm arrived, Yishu didn't see anyone named Wooden Crate. "Where did he go?" Yishu asked. "I killed him." Steam Bun had Steam Bun Invasion wave his fists around. Stocking, Yishu was about to ask, but he realized that Steam Bun definitely didn't have it. If not, the system would have announced that Steam Bun had picked up a stocking. "It looks like the stocking is with the other three," Yishu said. At the same time, he checked the current totals. Only this stocking had been found so far, and it was in the possession of Wooden Crate's team. "When you ran into them last time, was there an ambush waiting?" It was only until now that Yishu had an opportunity to ask this question. When he heard Steamed Bun's description, he immediately knew that this ambush was just Steamed Bun's understanding of the situation. "Come over here." Yishu's Lord Grimm figured out which direction to head towards and started moving. "Are we going to continue splitting up?" Steamed Bun Invasion was eager to go in the opposite direction. "We'll stick together for now," Yishu called after him. From the way they do things, this team is rather cautious. They're very attentive towards their coordination with one another. Even though they split up, they weren't far from each other, so if something happened, the other four could quickly arrive to rescue him. "We just killed two of them. They'll certainly choose to revive. The other three will probably head towards the revival point to continue to provide support and then continue helping each other out." Yishu didn't know whether Steam Bun would understand what he said or not, but he still explained his reasoning in detail. He hoped Steam Bun could be more normal and think more logically. "How insightful. You really deserve to be called the boss. Let's go." Steam Bun expressed his respect towards Yishu and immediately had Steam Bun Invasion chase after Lord Grimm. Every map only had one revival point. Yishu and Steam Bun were more skilled and had better equipment than normal players, so they moved quite a bit faster. Not long after hurrying in this direction, they saw three figures heading towards the revival point in the snowstorm. "That's probably them. Hurry." They were a bit far, so Yishu couldn't clearly see their names. After calling out to Steamed Bun, he consumed more stamina to close in quickly on them until he could confirm their names. Stay low. Yi Shu was afraid Steamed Bun would greet them again, so he hastily warned him. We can't let them run away again, Yi Shu said. Yes. The two quietly and quickly crept up on the three players. The noise from the heavy snowstorm concealed the noise of their footsteps. The three were unaware of any enemies nearby and continued forward. You take the one on the right. I'll take the other two, Yi Shu said once they were close enough. Steamed Bun wasn't the only one who heard him. The three players ahead jumped in fright. By the time they turned around, Lord Grimm and Steamed Bun invasion had already started attacking them. The three clearly didn't want to fight. They tried their usual tactic and split up to escape. This time, Yi Shu was ready and had launched a sneak attack at such a close distance. He wasn't going to give them a chance to escape again. If running away wasn't an option, then fighting back was the only option they could choose. There were no penalties for dying, so it freed them of many worries, but even with a different mentality, normal players couldn't suddenly become pro-level players. The three planned on putting their all into the fight, but by the time they set their hearts and steeled their resolves, their characters were already on the ground. From then on, they were unable to get back up all the way until they died. In the end, Yi Shu didn't know which character had dropped the stocking. Good. Once Yi Shu picked up the stocking, the system announcement came out. Yi Shu and Steamed Bun once again had no targets in sight. The progress was going so slowly. Perhaps it was because of the nasty weather that affected everyone's ability to search for stockings. The others in Happy had started the event at around the same time as Yi Shu and Steamed Bun. At the moment, their maps were all bustling with activity. In the other maps, at least 5 stockings had already been found. None of them were like Yi Shu's situation. Just when Yi Shu was grumbling about it, a system announcement came out. The player Orange Jasmine had picked up a stocking. From the name, Orange Jasmine seemed to be a player from Herb Garden. In reality, not all Herb Garden players had herb names and not all players with herb names were Tiny Herb fans. This Orange Jasmine wasn't an Herb Garden player. He was part of a team with his friends, similar to Wooden Crate's team. As soon as he picked up this stocking, he started to panic because last time the system announcement came, quite a few players inside the map knew Lord Grimm was here too. Lord Grimm had just stolen a stocking too. Orange Jasmine. Let's look for him. As a result, Yi Shu and Steamed Bun once again split up and searched all over the map. This time, Yi Shu was the one to find the target. The entire team was together. Yi Shu didn't know if they had traded the stocking to someone else, so he didn't act rashly. He stealthily lied in wait nearby and then called for Steamed Bun to come over. In just that brief amount of time, the third and fourth stockings had been found. Yi Shu could only note down their names for the time being. Steamed Bun rushed over quite swiftly, but this time, beating their opponents wouldn't be as easy. Yi Shu gave Steamed Bun 2 targets, while he took 3. Once an opportunity arrived, they pounced. The opposing 5 players reacted quickly and immediately engaged in battle, but as soon as Yi Shu saw them fall into formation, he immediately saw that they were defending a single target. Orange Jasmine. They were protecting the player who had picked up a stocking. As a result, Yi Shu's Lord Grimm charged decisively towards Orange Jasmine. Orange Jasmine was a sharpshooter. He immediately attacked, while moving backwards with aerial fire. The other 4 in his team prepared to stop Lord Grimm, but with their pitiful skill level, how could they hope to block Yi Shu? Even less likely with Steamed Bun assisting him. Orange Jasmine saw that the situation wasn't looking good and aerial fired away. Yi Shu's Lord Grimm didn't chase after him. With a shadow clone technique, his real body suddenly flickered to the enemy team's paladin. Lord Grimm caught the paladin completely unprepared and struck the paladin down. The other 3 impatiently rushed over even more zealously than when they had protected Orange Jasmine. At this moment, Orange Jasmine suddenly stopped. As soon as he saw that the situation had changed, he immediately ran back. The stocking clearly wasn't on Orange Jasmine, but rather this team's paladin. Who was Yi Shu? He was a god of glory with top-notch awareness, tactical skills, and experience. After a quick exchange, he quickly saw through the other side's strategy. They were using Orange Jasmine was bait. Their true target of protection was this paladin. Reality confirmed Yishu's deduction. After telling Steamed Bun to ignore the other four and focus on beating up this paladin, this healing class soon fell. As expected, the stocking dropped. He quickly picked it up. Lord Grim was once again announced by the system. Lord Grim's strength was terrifying, but in this map, dying didn't incur any penalties. The remaining four did not have any stockings and did not need to be protected. They had nothing to lose, so they decided to surround Yishu and try to fight him to the death. To the next one, once Yishu picked up that stocking, he didn't plan on tangling with them and ran. Lord Grim flew backwards with aerial fire. Steamed Bun Invasion accompanied him and the two quickly vanished into the snowstorm. The four players were furious, but they were powerless to do anything. Third, fourth, fifth pair. Lord Grim kept on appearing on TV. Every time he went on TV, the number of stockings wouldn't change, but the number of stockings every other team had would decrease. Yishu and Steamed Bun didn't know what type of luck they had. They had yet to find a single stocking, but they managed to find all of the players that had found a stocking and scooped up the whole lot. These two had undoubtedly offended those five. Normally, Lord Grim's fame was beyond them. Normal players didn't dare to challenge him, but just like Orange Jasmine's party, they didn't have any stockings and wouldn't receive any penalties for dying, so why should they be scared of Lord Grim? Who cared if they lived or died? Might as well try. If they actually killed him, then that was 5 stockings collected in one go. As a result, to these fearless players, Lord Grim was not seen as the suspected god Yichu, but rather a moving stocking. Everyone wanted to try and take it. Yishu didn't fear these normal players, but there was no need to waste time fighting them, so he tried to evade them. During this time, stockings spawned and stockings were picked up. The players who picked up the stocking had their misgivings. They didn't dare to provoke an expert like Lord Grim. But even if they weren't going to provoke Lord Grim, Yishu wasn't going to let them go. When a total of 15 stockings had spawned, 12 stockings had been picked up. Of these 12, Yishu and Steamed Bun had 9. They hadn't found any of these, but stolen them all from others. At this moment, they flagged down a team. Tyrannical Ambition's team saw Lord Grim and tried to go around, but they were still caught. Sigh, I feel like, whether it's finding a player or a team, it's easier than finding a pair of stockings, Yishu sighed and acted. In the eyes of normal players, this team consisted of experts from a powerful guild, but in front of Yishu and Steamed Bun, they were no different from the other mediocre teams made up of friends. In the end, of the 5 players, 3 died and 2 escaped. The stocking just happened to be on one of the 3 who had died. Lord Grim and Steamed Bun Invasion took their 10th stocking, half of all the possible stockings. But in the eyes of others in Team Happy, such a dazzling achievement was being mocked. Ha, you two still aren't done yet. Wei Chen and his team were the first to finish a round of the event. In the end, they took 18 stockings for themselves, a complete sweep. Following afterwards, he delightedly went over to laugh at Yishu. Chapter 899. Strike back when the time is right. Nice, Yishu replied casually. He didn't have the time to bother with Wei Chen's provocation. Even if he was currently fighting against normal players, these normal players had no fear. They were exceptionally brave and fierce towards this stocking present bag. Yishu needed to be careful too. He had thought of transferring over his stockings, but seeing that his partner Steamed Bun, Yishu got rid of that thought. It was best if the stockings were kept in his possession. In this situation, even Yishu found it a challenge. It was no surprise the records on the individual rankings were so low. There were only 20 pairs. Even if these pairs were evenly distributed with one stocking to one player, there would still be 30 fearless barefoot players. For the team rankings, the combined total stockings of the entire team was counted. The stockings could be rotated around between the 5 members, giving the team numerous strategic options. However, for an individual, the individual could only rely on himself to carry all the stockings. If the individual was surrounded and killed, all of his efforts from before would instantly go to waste. From this, it could be seen that the 3 individuals participating in the event, Tang Ru, Wu Chen, and Mo Fan didn't have it easy either. Their skill surpassed that of normal players by a huge margin, so once they acquired a bunch of stockings in the initial stages, they were in the same predicament as Yishu. They had become stocking present bags. Anywhere they went, players would attack them. Wei Chen went around in a circle, observing everyone. He discovered that the others were also in a difficult situation. He completely ignored the troubles of an individual participant and laughed loudly. You'd better protect them well. If you die at the end, the situation will instantly turn around, Wei Chen said. He reached a conclusion relying on his experience and intuition and instantly grasped the main point of this event. The system would update the scoreboards with the number of stockings possessed by each party. Because of how the event worked, more than half of the players would not have any stockings by the end. Going full force for stockings in the beginning definitely wasn't a wise choice to make. If you stood out among the crowd flying against the wind, still wanting to soar through the skies was too difficult. Just as Wei Chen gave his advice, he heard Tang Ru cry out in surprise. What's wrong? What's wrong? Wei Chen immediately rushed over to check. Afterwards, he held a face filled with pity and sympathy. See, you weren't careful and died. You've got to stay low profile. Soft Mist, who had 6 stockings, died. Much of it had to do with Tang Ru's personality. She didn't like hiding, so if she ever saw someone, she would fight. After several fights, Tang Ru couldn't guarantee that her character took no damage. Right when she was recovering after killing a few players, someone ambushed her. In a panic, Tang Ru made a few mistakes. The several players, who she had just killed, revived and allied together to kill her. Then, from her ghost view, Tang Ru saw those guys looting her drop stockings. Helpless, she could only choose to revive. What a pity, Wei Chen shook his head and sighed. Then, he went to take a look at Mo Fan's side. Wei Chen didn't have a good impression of this cold and detached guy, so he hadn't paid much attention to his side previously. When he took a look, this guy was actually having quite an easy time. He carried 7 stockings on him and was still searching the map for targets. Every time he bumped into an enemy, he was always able to escape. A true professional. After watching for a while, Wei Chen couldn't help but sigh. Mo Fan was worthy of someone who had once been a top-tier scrap picker. He was just too professional with this task. It was as if this quest was made for him, like a fish in water. Wei Chen stopped watching Mo Fan and went to take a look at Wu Chen's side. When he glanced over, he suddenly went into a daze. Then, he gave Wu Chen a big thumbs up and sighed with unfeigned emotion. Bro, how decisive of you. All 20 stockings had spawned on Wu Chen's map. When Wei Chen took a look, the players had found a total of 15 stockings so far. Of those, Wu Chen's Dawn rifle possessed 6 stockings. He was currently being chased crazily as a target by those guys without any stockings. When Wei Chen went around in a circle and returned, on the live updated scoreboard, the number of stockings picked up by players had actually decreased to 11. When he took a look at Wu Chen's Dawn rifle, his 6 stockings had actually become only 2. Wei Chen stared blankly. He suddenly understood that perhaps when he had become everyone's target, he threw down 4 stockings of his own accord, so among those with stockings, he no longer stood out. With this mighty decision-making, who would be so stupid as to pick a fight with him? Advance by retreating. You really do have some skill, Wei Chen praised. Wu Chen obviously wasn't satisfied with 2 stockings. He simply got rid of his awkward status as a present bag for now, allowing the opponents take the initiative and then strike when the time was right. Daring to relinquish already acquired stockings was rather courageous. Look at him. You should learn a bit. Wei Chen admired Wu Chen's strategy and then turned to look at Yishu's side. But when he took a look, he was astonished. Wow, you respond fast. You've actually thrown a bunch away already. Child, you show promise. Yishu was even more thorough. He had decided to throw away all 10 of his stockings. Right now, his team had 0 stockings. The number of stockings possessed by players became 2. The progress was so slow that Wei Chen wanted to cry. Wei Chen continued to walk around and observe the others. When he glanced at Steam Bun's screen, he exclaimed in surprise, F***CK, you're so despicable. Steam Bun Invasion was hiding in a pile of snow. His gaze was locked onto a single spot. That place had no one there, just a bunch of stockings. 10 stockings to be exact. Yishu had thrown all 10 of his stockings, but he had sent Steam Bun to guard them. Wei Chen's remark wasn't aimed at Steam Bun, but Yishu. He was certain that Yishu had set this arrangement up. Steam Bun, you can't keep on staring at these stockings. Pay attention to your surroundings, Wei Chen reminded Steam Bun. Boss told me to stare at them like this. Steam Bun didn't move a single inch. Yishu confirmed it. You're doing beautifully, Steam Bun. Of course, Steam Bun was delighted. At this moment, several players appeared in Steam Bun's line of sight. They came through the snowstorm. The closer they came, the clearer Steamed Bun could see them. People are coming. Hurry up and move the stockings, Wei Chen hastily warned Steamed Bun. This guy was just sitting there as if he were asleep. He didn't budge and just kept staring at the stockings. In the end, Steamed Bun didn't move. Hey, Wei Chen pushed Steamed Bun. Stop bothering me, Steamed Bun glared at Wei Chen in condemnation. They're almost there. Why are you still sitting there doing nothing? Wei Chen shouted. You're so annoying. Go lead your team, Yi Shu spoke out. During that exchange of words, that team approached and suddenly discovered a pile of stockings laying there. They were clearly overjoyed at the turn of events and dashed over. Steamed Bun kept still. He quietly watched as those guys snatched up all 10 stockings in one swoop and began discussing with each other, what's going on? Mutual destruction? It must be. Haha, lucky us. How amazing. When they picked them up one after the other, the system announced their team name over and over again. The team immediately left after picking up the stockings. Steamed Bun finally moved, maintaining a distance from them, slowly following them. After Wei Chen stared blankly for a while, he finally understood Yi Shu's intent. Wu Chen had simply given up on a few of his stockings temporarily, but for Yi Shu, Wei Chen thought that he had thrown them all out and then left Steamed Bun there to guard them. Now he knew that Steamed Bun wasn't guarding them. He intentionally let someone else carry the bomb for them and had Steamed Bun follow them closely. When the time came, a Siskin would swoop by and take all of the stockings all at once. Compared to Wu Chen's strategy, Yi Shu's strategy was much more proactive. Shameless, despicable, immoral, Wei Chen rushed over to denounce Yi Shu. Shut up, Yi Shu dismissed him. Everything developed just as Yi Shu had expected. The team that took 10 stockings instantly became everyone's target and was chased by everyone else. The stockings circled around several times. No matter who took the stockings, Steamed Bun invasion was always nearby, following them like a ghost. As for Yi Shu, he roamed around killing people. One stocking after the other came into his hands. Then, these stockings would always miraculously appear nearby whichever team held the most stockings. Thus, that team would have more and more stockings. Of the 20 stockings, 19 had been picked up. Among those 19, one team had 16 stockings, causing all the other teams to howl and search crazily for the location of that one team. That team was scared too. They somehow managed to find 16 stockings. They felt like they were dreaming. Once another stocking was picked up, the countdown would begin for the quest to end. Darkness came before dawn. It was always hard to endure. It wasn't easy for them to last this long. Now that the final stretch had come, they had to make a gamble. The team gathered together and after a serious discussion, they handed all 16 stockings to a single player and then scattered. When a character completed a trade, there would be a movement from the character indicating it. Yi Shu had told Steamed Bun that he must identify who completed the trade. Steamed Bun didn't betray Yi Shu's hopes. Hiding nearby, he clearly saw who among the 5 he needed to follow. He didn't need instructions for that. Steamed Bun locked onto the one carrying all 16 stockings and reported back to Yi Shu. Ah, so that's what they ended up doing. That makes things easier for us. Go ahead and attack, Yi Shu said. Steamed Bun, who had been in hiding for so long, finally erupted. He suddenly rushed out from the snow. Along with the falling snowflakes, he charged towards that stocking present bag determined and decisive. That player didn't think that the lucky them would end up with such bad luck in the final stretch. As soon as they scattered, he was found by someone. Steamed Bun didn't know if that player had asked for help. He only knew that his target was very easy to deal with. He easily killed him off. A tidal wave of announcements poured out from the system. Steamed Bun Invasion's name appeared again and again. That old target disappeared and what replaced that target was a team with 19 stockings now. Yi Shu and Steamed Bun were originally in the lead, but then they had accidentally slipped up. Afterwards, they were extremely unlucky for a long time, not encountering the fat present bag, leading to Lord Grimm's team only holding 3 stockings, but in the very last stretch, they instantly snatched away the fat present bag. No one pick up that last stocking, someone shouted in the map's public chat. The first to reply to him was Lord Grimm, who replied, haha. Then, Yi Shu lit his cigarette and clicked his mouse, picking up the final stocking right next to Lord Grimm. System announcement, player Lord Grimm has picked up the 20th stocking. If no change occurs within the next 120 seconds, the quest will end. Chapter 900. Grand Slam. How many stockings did you guys get again? With a cigarette in his mouth, Yishu turned his head and asked Wei Chen amicably. Wei Chen's expression was rather twisted. 18 stockings had been their record. When he saw Yishu and Steam Bun in a predicament earlier, he repeatedly blabbed about his achievement to Yishu. 18 stockings was shocking enough to most. The current team in the lead on the rankings only had 31 stockings total, which had been acquired over the course of 3 events. But now, Yishu and Steam Bun had taken all 20 stockings for themselves. Hearing Yishu's question, Wei Chen was certain that, if he was in that map, he would definitely sell out Lord Grimm's position. Don't be so happy. It's not over yet, Wei Chen said. You don't think I'll be able to last for 120 seconds? Yishu smirked. Wei Chen was unable to respond. With Yishu's skill level, surviving for 2 minutes wouldn't be a problem. Even though the other players were searching frantically for Lord Grimm and Steam Bun invasion, everyone was spread out. It wasn't 2 people fighting against 40 all at once. In this situation, so what if they managed to encounter Lord Grimm or Steam Bun invasion? Steam Bun, position, Yishu was much more worried about Steam Bun. For the previous task, Steam Bun had beautifully completed it, but there was still 120 seconds to go. Hopefully, nothing would happen to him. After getting Steam Bun's current position, Yishu took a look at the distance between them. It would take some time before he could reach him. Lord Grimm immediately flung open his myriad manifestations umbrella. He utilized Gatling gun and shot his gun crazily. There were no players inside Lord Grimm's field of view, but the loud gunshots from his Gatling gun couldn't be masked by the snowstorm. At this moment, apart from Lord Grimm or Steam Bun invasion, who else would be fighting? As a result, the noise quickly attracted the attention of all surrounding players. Yishu hoped that normal players wouldn't be good enough to deduce his position, so after Gatling gun went on cooldown, he flipped through his skill list and chose skills that produced extremely loud noises. Finally, a player appeared in his field of view. Lord Grimm took the initiative to welcome him. Over here. The instant that player saw Lord Grimm, besides being excited, he immediately called over his teammates. But he soon realized that against Lord Grimm, would their team of 5 be an opponent? 5 against 1. Under normal circumstances, it was an infallible advantage, but Lord Grimm as the opponent definitely couldn't be considered a normal situation. The team of 5 discussed for a moment. In the end, the excitement didn't go over their heads. They decisively reported Lord Grimm's location in the public chat. The 120-second timer displayed by the system continued to count down. Unable to find the target, the players were going crazy. When they saw someone suddenly giving out Lord Grimm's location, without thinking too much about it, they hurried over to that location. Steam Bun, make sure you hide well, Yishu yelled. Even though he had attracted everyone's attention, he couldn't guarantee that no one would encounter Steam Bun invasion as they made their way over. Steam Bun was no longer only staring in a single direction. He was constantly looking around for any signs of movements. After tailing someone for so long, he was quite used to this map and knew how to use it to his advantage. He had grasped the distance needed to see someone's figure and the distance needed to see someone's name clearly. In this kind of situation, when everyone was single-mindedly focused on reaching Lord Grimm, it was very easy for him to hide. Everyone was in a hurry. When they saw a figure far, far away, they might not consider taking a closer look to see who it was. Staying safe for Steam Bun was practically ensured. As for Yishu's side, all of the players were rushing enthusiastically in his direction. They weren't coordinating with each other, so the encirclement wouldn't be very precise. He easily found an opening and led the players away from Steam Bun invasion's location. More and more players appeared behind Lord Grimm. The countdown continued to tick. If they only chased, the problem wouldn't be solved. They needed to intercept him to restrict his movements. The players predicted Lord Grimm's movements and began cutting across diagonally and circling around to the front. But could 3 or 5 players blocking be much of an obstacle for Yishu? Yishu didn't even bother fighting them and directly blew past them. 0. When the countdown hit 0, the characters stopped receiving commands from the players and stood still. The system announced the final results. At the same time, a system announcement appeared in the heavenly domain. Congratulations to Lord Grimm and Steamed Bun Invasion for achieving a grand slam in the Christmas event. We're on the TV. Steamed Bun was excited. Yi Shu didn't know that this hidden mechanism existed. After all, ever since the event began, no team had ever managed to acquire all 20 stockings in a round. A grand slam wasn't easy. Seeing a customized announcement by the system, Yi Shu felt like there should be a reward for it. When Yi Shu clicked on the Christmas envoy next to the map exit, sure enough, a grand slam came with rewards. Unlike how stockings could only be accepted at the end of the event, these rewards could be received now. Yi Shu clicked confirm. Following after, a system announcement appeared again. Player Lord Grimm has achieved a grand slam in the Christmas event and has been rewarded, Apocalypse Star. Everyone impatiently checked the reward. A pleasing orange necklace appeared. Apart from the basic magic resistance, this necklace did not increase any of the 4 main stats. However, it increased stunning physical attack and magic attack by a stunning 10%. As a game that paid particular attention to combat, players valued attack extremely highly. An item that increased attack was always welcome. Plus 10% physical and magic attack was absolutely huge. Thus, apart from these 2 bonuses, there were no other attributes. From this, it could be seen just how incredible these 2 bonuses were. Who knew how many people were drooling, seeing this necklace? Yi Shu also nodded his head in approval. This is quite good. After saying that, he equipped it. The increased stats could be seen at a glance. Steamed Bun also accepted his reward. Just after Lord Grimm appeared on TV, Steamed Bun Invasion's name followed. Who knew if his reward was a coincidence, but it seemed to be related to Lord Grimm's reward. Lord Grimm's reward was Apocalypse Star. Steamed Bun Invasion's reward was called Sundering Apocalypse. Everyone naturally went to take a look at it. It once again brought a storm of envy from a portion of players. Sunder Apocalypse was a claw, the most popular weapon among brawlers. Sundering Apocalypse. Level 75 Claw. Weight 2.2, Durability 22, Attack Speed 5. Physical Attack 771. Magic Attack 767. Strength plus 40. Intelligence plus 31. Weapon Attack plus 10%. Attack Effects plus 5%. Attack Speed plus 3. Street Riot Skill Level plus 2. Attacks have a 5% chance of inflicting bleed on the target lasting 10 seconds. The weapon stats were also exceptionally powerful. It didn't specify physical or magic attack, which meant it increased both. However, there was a difference between weapon attack plus 10% and Apocalypse Star's physical attack plus 10%. Weapon attack 10% meant that it only increased the equipment's attack. In other words, it would only increase Sundering Apocalypse's 771 physical attack and 767 magic attack by 10%. On the other hand, Apocalypse Star's physical attack plus 10% meant the character's overall physical attack stat would be increased. A character's stat was based on the character's base stats as well as all other equipment equipped. Thus, from this perspective, Apocalypse Star's physical and magic attack plus 10% was much more valuable than weapon attack plus 10%. That wasn't Sundering Apocalypse's only stat bonus though. Attack Effects plus 5% was another very powerful bonus. This description indicated that all effects from attacks would be increased. Brawlers had many skills that inflicted statuses such as dizzy, bleed, poison, etc. The all-around buff by attack effects plus 5% didn't need to be mentioned. In addition, attack speed plus 3 was a top-tier bonus stat for classes that didn't cast spells. Street Riot was the new level 75 brawler skill. The current evaluation of it was that it was a lazy attempt at a skill because all it did was increase the power of low and mid-level brawler skills, but in actual combat, its might was worthy of a level 75 skill. And then the 10-second bleed. That might not be considered too powerful, but it couldn't be ignored. It was a very annoying effect and was a boon to the player's DPS. When these two pieces of equipment appeared, countless players coveted them. Some even asked if they were willing to sell them in the global chat. There were many players who didn't lack money. Yi Shu and Steamed Bun obviously ignored these requests. After Yi Shu had Lord Grimm equip Apocalypse Star, he stood up and walked around in a circle just like when Wei Chen had finished his first round of the event. Tang Ru, Wu Chen, and Mo Fan's first round had ended as well. Among the three, Mo Fan did the best. He obtained 11 stockings alone. Next was Wu Chen, who picked up 9. However, part of that was because Wu Chen had switched strategies a bit too late. If he had followed this clear strategy from the beginning, he might have done better. As for Tang Ru, because of a big death in the middle, she only ended up getting 6 stockings before her map ended. In this first round for Happy, Yishu and Steam Bun did the best. Wei Chen's team nearly got a grand slam. As for the other three, for an individual, Mo Fan and Wu Chen did quite well. But after this first wave, everyone at least understood something. Standing out was no good.